Hello, everybody. Matreshka here with the DeSo in the eyes of behodlers, and I have two special guests with me tonight. It's Oscar and Angie. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for the interview.
It's very exciting to meet you. So, to those of you who are watching who don't know them, so Oscar is part of the Web3 Lawyers, and Angie is part of the FarFetched Labs. And I'm gonna ask you first of all, do you mind sharing a little bit of each of those projects?
Yeah, of course. So Web3 Lawyers, it's five attorneys, and we all specialize in something that has to do with Web3. So what we do as attorneys, it's make sure to guide the clients from start to finish, right, from their project, making sure that we protect them, protect their holders, make sure that they follow all necessary guidelines that can be applicable to an NFT, things like that. And yeah, just mainly trying to help our clients uh, with their innovations.
Thank you. And what about FarFetched Labs?
So FarFetchedLabs Labs works in conjunction with Web3 Lawyers. FarFetchedLabs Labs is an advisory NFT. So we were talking earlier how education is a big part of NFTs and of the whole crypto world. And so when, businesses, maybe people have an idea of an NFT, then, there's so many things going on right now at the space because it's so new. So we want to make sure that we build that good foundation and that good base so that people have a good NFT with the future ahead of them, because so many, and I don't know if y'all are familiar with the NFT space right now, there's so many that are flipping and they're losing a lot of money or value because of lack of utility or because that foundation wasn't set. And so we want to make sure, that if people are thinking about going into NFTs, and like we said, it's a future. So in the future, all small businesses are going to run on NFTs. There's going to be shops where people can set up their NFT shops and sell, and it's not only going to be a picture, but it's rather going to have a thing to do with it. It'll be an entrance to something. It'll be a receipt to a house or to a car. So we want to make sure that that foundation is built so that you can be legally protected and so that you can have a good outlook as to what the future is going to hold without feeling like you're going to get rug pulled or without feeling like the smart contracts are not going to work the way that they need to, So that's our goal.
Thank you so much for sharing. And you mentioned already a couple of use cases and utilities for NFTs. Would you mind sharing some of maybe unusual utilities that we came across or something that stood out of what we are already maybe familiar with?
Yeah, so it started typically, it's an art revolution. So aside from an art revolution, we're starting to see a lot of perhaps the NFTs are now tickets. For example, for this conference, for Supermint, it was an NFT that would get you in. And so that's one utility. They get to use it for something else. I've seen also people use NFTs as entrances to restaurants. So they can go to a specific restaurant if they hold that NFT. It's like a club, right? We're going to start seeing a lot more where NFTs are going to be like subscriptions to things. And so,
Yeah,
go ahead.
just to add on that, we actually, one of our potential clients, they're doing that exact same thing, but for golf. So by owning this NFT, it has its own levels, right? But by owning this NFT, you can actually be part of a golf club, and it's basically it's your membership now.
Yeah. And so I think that's where it's mostly going to go towards, using those utilities. And like I said, they might not even have necessarily a utility, something that you can do with it, but it'll give you a product. And so we've seen that there's a lot of fashion companies coming up with wanting to create NFTs that are going to give you that fashion piece or, the shirts or the clothing, the jewelry, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And from the point of view of a lawyer, what are some of the challenges that maybe NFT community coming across, or some of the things that you're noticing that are happening in the space? Would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So I mean, one thing I can think of the top of my head, it's really as a holder, right? I guess the plain thing is you don't want to be rugged. You want to make sure that that is a legit NFT project. Now, something like that, it's pretty easy to say, well, it's just a fraud, right? Now, more complex things, it would be the IP, right? When it comes to the IP, um, sometimes, like for example, in my experience, um, I was actually founder of a NFT project, and because we used another project's IP without, um, well, they did it without my consent, but it was my team. By using that IP of another project without their accepting it, then I got a call saying like, hey, what's going on? Why are you using this? So that's, I was like, okay, well, for me to be able to see that, I go to the terms of use, and yeah, it clearly said that this specific logo, it cannot be used. So those are some problems. Another one that I can think right now, it's probably people thinking that just because it's the metaverse and things happen on the metaverse, laws won't apply. Now, I'm not saying all laws apply to the metaverse, right? But like this, the panel where we talked, basically saying in the metaverse you can buy your land, you can build your property, etc. Well, the same laws for property in the real life apply, right? You cannot, if you buy something in the metaverse, you cannot transfer it, you cannot sell it, you basically cannot do anything with it if you don't own it. It goes the same with real life, right? If there's a house that I don't own, I cannot go with someone and say, here, I sell you this house. You cannot transfer or give out what you don't
Something
own.
that you don't own. Yeah.
Right. And also it comes to, this is something from my experience as well. There was this project, right? And there was some kind of issues between the owners of the project, right? And that project had, for its name, there's a legal entity, there's a contract, there's everything for that, right? Basically that governs that project. Well, I spoke to one of the owners with the discrepancy that happened, and he said, "Oh yeah, I already took care of it." I was like, "Wait, how did you take care of it? What's going on?" He said, "Oh yeah, I just made the community vote on what's going to happen, and then we move forward." I was like, "Okay." Now, to give some back context on this, what was happening, the voting was to take out a member of one of the owners, basically remove them from the company, from the contract, from the project. And I was like, okay, wait, but how can you make the community vote for that? He's like, oh yeah, this is in the metaverse. This is the NFT space. It's through the community. I'm like, yes, but no. Yes, in the sense that, okay, that's fine. You can vote it to the community of that project and let the community decide. At that point, then you can kick out this owner from the Discord, from the Twitter, whatever. You can kick them out. That's fine. You can do that. It's basically like a DAO.
But it doesn't affect the contract.
But it doesn't affect the contract, correct? And him saying like, oh, well, it's a metaverse. It's just the right and wrong. I'm like, no, man. I mean, this is the way you have to do. There's a specific process, specific steps that you need to take in order to legally remove this member out of the contract and out of the entity, right? Clearly, there was a lot of disagreement, but I was just like, you know what, I'm really not going to waste my time with this person. And that's a big problem out there. That is what I'm trying to say, Yes, the metaverse is something else, and the law is trying to catch up to it. But just because it happened in the metaverse, or your project is in the metaverse, it doesn't mean that some laws will apply
In the real life.
in the real life aspect, And so I think that's a really big problem out there, and it's things like this, we need to provide that kind of knowledge.
Yes, and I feel that like with people learning more about DAOs, and everybody hears about DAOs, and they're like, oh, you can have governance amongst people, which is great, but if it's not backed by, like you said, a contract or something, like if there is a contract that formed an entity and then you're trying to use this entity as a DAO, but without this actually, like, it cannot work together, like unless it's specified. Right. And I was just talking to a couple who were mentioning that in certain states they accept the law, they create the laws to introduce DAOs. So you don't register like LLC or corporation or anything. You're registering a DAO, and then you can start operating as a DAO, and then you can legally, like you said, do all of those things. But it's very interesting that there is a lot of confusion about this among people, because I didn't realize that, but it makes a lot of sense that people just think that it's metaverse, so whatever.
I'm out of the hook. Yeah, no.
Yes, and also the question that I usually also like asking people, like with NFTs, when there are scams, and there are scams that happen sometimes, that person takes somebody's NFT, sell it as theirs. Unfortunately, it happens sometimes. But the question is, like, what would govern it? Because, like, if the person is in Turkey and the other person is like in America, like as far as I understand, we don't have yet the laws that would like easily allow us to deal with it.
Yeah, no, of course not. There's really not a lot of guidance into that. Look, and this is, I mean, there is some international laws, but I really, to be honest with you, I can't get into the whole detail of it because I don't have the knowledge. It's something that probably whenever it comes up, I'll dig into it. But I haven't sat down and go through all of that stuff. Whether those international laws can cover that, probably in some sense for the fraud, right? Basically, kind of seeing whether the United States long arm statute can have jurisdiction over that person in Turkey or China.
Yeah. But we all know if they're in Russia, US will have no jurisdiction there. So looks like it.
Not.
So I'm curious to see how that would develop, because it will have to develop. We are creating new things, and it requires legal backing for that as well. So it will be very, very interesting to see how it will be developing. And you mentioned that law plays catch up. Like, do you know some organization or somebody who works specifically apart from you guys on working with that, like legal part of Web3 and all of this wonderful crypto NFT stuff that we love so much?
If there's another company or
just like if you know of any organizations that are like, also doing the same effort that you're doing.
We actually don't. Of course, there's always attorneys that have great knowledge, right? And that I've talked to them about the space, things like that. And, they imparted a lot of knowledge on me. But let's put it this way, a law firm specifically that focuses on Web3 like we do, no, I have not. But whether they're attorneys that can give you the same knowledge or probably more than what I have, definitely.
Well, I'm really glad that we have you, because you're like pioneers. Like you said, you're like the only law firm that actually is like solely dedicated to that, which I absolutely love. And I'm sure we're going to see more of that as time progresses, because like NFTs are getting everywhere, like crypto is getting everywhere. It's going to be every person's life very, very soon. And we're all realizing that. That's why, we will need more people like you. And thank you so very much for doing it in the first place. We really appreciate it. And just like a couple of other last questions, like what are some of the things that excite you about Web3 in general, like the most?
In general, man, that's a broad question. In general, I really like just the innovation to it. I think it's just, first of all, it's a great opportunity for people to get into this space and kind of honestly make a career out of it, right? I know that some of the great developers in this space, they don't even have a bachelor's, self-taught, and one of the greatest developers here in the space. And I think more than anything, I would say just the new era that is taking the world by storm. I think we're already seeing big companies getting into this. We're already seeing celebrities. So it's just this, I'm really excited about this new movement that it's happening.
Thank you very much. How about you?
I think for me, it's probably the idea of, like you said, all the innovation, that's happening, but the possibilities that we could do with this, because it's something that's new, and that's going to be literally, as soon as it launches, it's worldwide, Like it's not going to be, specific to one location. And I think that's a big game changer. Like if you think about El Salvador, like, they were struggling, and then now they're turning that into a crypto city,
Yes,
into,
one of the first
it's,
people to actually nationally do it. It's
yeah, like I think that without it, they wouldn't have had that opportunity, right? And so I think that's a big factor, and I really hope, my hopes are that people who are I want to say the underdogs, that are not big companies, that are really going to take this as an opportunity to grow together and to just really build something great together. And I think, that's exciting.
Thank you very much. It is really, really exciting. And you mentioned opportunities like right now we have a war between Russia and Ukraine, and Ukrainian banks don't necessarily want to release the money to people who are standing for hours for ATMs. So what they're actually doing, they're using crypto to get out of the country. And crypto is literally helping them to, save their lives and their families to run from under the attack. And I think it's absolutely amazing way how like this new world that's coming and that's we're trying to introduce to more people is literally saving people's lives because of that. And like we are selling NFTs to donate money to them, and it goes to them immediately, and they can start using it to like. There are stories of people buying a car with Bitcoin and driving out of Ukraine and stuff like this, which is absolutely incredible. And like they wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for crypto.
Exactly.
And that's like it inspires me because like that's this innovation and possibilities like unite. It's like it gives so many amazing possibilities. Sorry for saying it like twice.
No,
but
it's
that's
the
exactly
idea,
what it
right?
is.
Yeah.
And gives like just giving more freedom to people, and I absolutely love it.
It gives me chills thinking about, like it's awesome that they can that was able to happen, and it's just crazy to think of the times where we're at. We don't have to be depending on other people to be able to have that safety. Like that should be a right? And so
Yes, and where like in regular situation you have to depend on bank to actually give you this money that you hold in there, because nobody holds money in banks and doesn't expect to get it back. And when something happens, the war happens, and you cannot get it immediately. It's like you have to depend on them. So in here, like you take this control that financial organizations have over you, and you have it personally, which is absolutely
Yeah, I think the way I see it, crypto gives control to the people that buy it. It gives it gives power to the people. In other words, that's how I see it.
Yes, crypto gives power to the people. I love that. That should be like a slogan, like a bumper
new
sticker.
motto. There you
Yeah, crypto gives power to the people. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so very much. It was wonderful to have you, and I know you're now excited about DeSo now that you know what it is, and we are looking forward to meeting you there. And so excited to have you as a first law firm that providing such valuable services to people who are all immersed in this metaverse, and so that there is guidance and legal backing of it as well.
Yeah, of course. We just we want to make sure that you as a creator, innovator, coming into this space, we want to make sure that you're protected, that you're covered, so you don't have to run into the legal issues with that or any legalities, without any armor, or just make sure that everything goes smoothly for you. Yeah.
Can I ask you something? You say you're a pre-law student.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I want to learn them more and more, but the more I talk to different lawyers, there is like actually only one course of international law in law school, which is very like small and short. And that's why like the attorneys that I've already spoken with, including like attorneys who work with Andrew Yang, who works with people on the Capitol to try to educate people about crypto and stuff, like that question usually brings like some unsure, people not being sure, because there is so little to guide people right now.
Yeah.
And there are like a couple of things that they recommended for me to, research and look into, which I'm doing, but there is so little that there is like, this is the space that because we are creating all the new stuff, we need all the new laws for it, because the existing laws, they just don't cover everything that's happening.
No, they don't. And I think that's why some tip I can give you when it comes to, international law, it's very little, but I would recommend just make sure to be licensed in a state that is following this revolution. Like it's very pro crypto, pro DAOs, things like that.
Yeah, they'll be the
Yeah.
pioneers.
Yeah, so those state would be the pioneers, and you want to be at that forefront, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
So-
for sure.
Because again, like I told you, all this law, the IP law, property law, ownership,
And IP is intellectual property. If you don't know what it is, lawyer talk.
all that. Thank you. All that is law that I've learned through my experience, through reading all that, you know. So, so yeah, that's why you want to make sure to be in a state that is just going to be one of those pioneers in this space.
That is so true, but I also kind of like dream that maybe it will be just not even federal law, but it would be like some new type of international world law, if you like, however you want to put it, but because it wouldn't apply to everybody. And so that everybody would be actually like responsible for following the same laws instead of like having each country, you know, their own
Yeah.
codes and laws, and then, you know, federal laws, and then like it's just like it would make sense if it would be just like one. It would be just so much
Let's all be
simpler.
on the same page.
Yeah, so hopefully if you're watching this and you have, you know, any resources and abilities to influence political leaders in all the world, definitely make your work and lobby crypto and make sure that they're educated about what it is, what NFTs are, and what amazing possibilities it can give to people and how much freedom they can actually receive from that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I completely agree.
Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for
You
having
will find the links to follow all of us under the video, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.